Hey, I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, the original holistic pet health coach, and I am so delighted today because I have with me Rena Gresset, who is one of our very first students in the holistic pet health certification program. She is now a certified holistic pet health coach, and she has started into this work coming from working with pets as a pet sitter, working with rescue groups, helping people understand what they can do to support their own pets. And her business now is called Heart and Soul Pet Connection. Rena, welcome. So glad to have you here and really excited for this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. This is my second live with you.
Right on. So, so one of the things we wanted to talk about is kind of adopt, don't shop, and that's a very old phrase in terms of finding pets that are in shelters, that are in rescue groups, that really need homes, and that's part of what really feeds your soul. So, talk a little bit about the experience you've had in working with some of these groups.
Oh gosh. I started rescuing probably 2012. I started with my first foster, and it was to honor a dog named Rita, who was a little 10-year-old senior Chihuahua that I rescued. And unfortunately, she got taken by a coyote
Ooh,
only 6 months after I had her. And I just thought, I've got to do something to, like, her life can't be in vain. I've got to do something. And so my cousin suggested I try fostering. So I fostered a Chihuahua, was my first little foster. And it's kind of just gone from there. And once you jump into the rescue world, man, all the behind the scenes things that you never knew went on, and all the stuff, all the effort that it takes. You see a pet in a shelter, to get them out of the shelter and into a foster home. There is a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes. And so I've been involved in many different ways with a couple of different rescues. But yeah, since 2012.
wow, and that's dedication. So talk about that a little bit. I think people don't understand. I mean, sometimes I've heard people in the past complain about the whole vetting process, if you will, to become a foster parent. Talk about why that's necessary. It take a while.
Yeah, yeah. You have to apply through the rescue group. So they have to do a home check. They don't do background checks, but they do have to do a home check. They got to make sure that, they got to do a meet and greet, make sure that if you have other pets in the house, the new pet is going to get along. You guys are all good. So they can't, and they have to know that you're dedicated. You've got an amount of time you can do it. You're not just going to have the dog for a day and give it back because it doesn't work. So they got to know you're committed. And most rescue groups are volunteer run. So they have full-time jobs as well. So it's not like they're sitting there at their computer waiting to answer in your foster application. There's a process for that. And yeah, so a lot of people get upset, but every rescue is different. I'll say that every rescue is different. Some people will literally just drop a dog off at somebody's house and just say, here's a bag of food, thanks for taking care of him. And others are a little more vetted and thorough, and they want to, some places don't want you to have a doggy door or a pool or children under 8 for particular reasons. And people get upset with that. Like, I have a great home just because I have a pool. But yeah, well, it's not barricaded and the dog could fall in. Well, my dog uses a doggy door. Yes, but we have owls and coyotes and foxes and stuff in San Diego, and it takes 10 seconds. So people get upset over some of the reasons. And the reasons are that we are trying to protect the pet and make sure that it is a good fit and the best place for them to be placed. So just
Right on.
patience.
Amen. Because I mean, many of these dogs, especially if they're older, they've come out of very difficult situation, and they may be more reactive and more
Mhm.
skittish about strange stuff. So really, it is all for the protection and safety of each individual animal.
Yep.
So, when you started doing rescue work in 2012, who was the first dog that you fostered?
Um, well, it was probably Rita, a little red Chihuahua, and she was probably my first. Gosh, I've had so many, I don't even remember. I know some people have fostered over 100 and something dogs. I think I've probably
Wow,
fostered like 25, but it's still,
that's a
um,
lot.
yeah, I can't honestly even remember all of them, but I know there was another little Chihuahua after her. And then my very, very special dog, Snow. She's the whole reason behind Heart and Soul Pet Connection. She was one of my foster fails. She was in
So
2012 or 13.
yeah, that's always the risk. But so what was so special about Snow that she ended up staying with you?
Oh, she just had so many medical issues. Wow. I feel like I went through vet school with her, with all of the ailments and things that happened to her, and only she knows her real story. um, but she just had so many conditions, and like I said, I just learned so much with her, and she was just so special. She was almost void of anything when I got her, and I just thought, what am I going to do with this little thing? I don't She's her eyes are black. She's just kind of blank. She walks, she stares at the walls, she sleeps all she turns in circles. I have no idea what I'm going to do with her. And my cousin she says, well, did a good job with the other ones. Just love her. Just, feed her good stuff and love her and do the best you can. And I just kind of every night would hold her on my chest and we'd lay together and I would do just a meditation and visualization with her on my chest, and talk about a bonding experience.
Wow.
And she just little by little came out of her shell. I realized the spinning was because she had double ear infections. She was a little chubby and she had really back wonky legs that were almost L-shaped like a sea lion, and
Ooh,
she therefore couldn't get her foot up to scratch. So she would just spin in a circle. So once we got the ear infections cleared up, that went away. Of course, feeding her healthier stuff, getting some supplements in. She started to walk better. I had to get approval to take her to see a holistic vet and start getting some holistic modalities done on her, and promise to pay myself out of pocket. And that really made a big, big difference in her. And I don't know, probably 6 months to a year in, I used to take her out into the park every day and we would sit on the grass together a couple of times a day. Talk about grounding and earthing, right?
right on.
And
Beautiful.
she loved to smell flowers. Interestingly, we had these agapanthus on the pathway, and she would reach her head out. I'd have her in my arms. She'd reach over, and she'd want to smell these flowers every day. And for the life of me, I don't know what she smells because I cannot detect a scent on those flowers at all. So I don't know, but she loved those flowers. And I was holding her one day, looking down at her, and we actually connected in our eyes, and I can't explain it, but I felt like a magnetic click in my heart and soul. And I looked into her eyes and she looked back, and it was a bond and a moment I will never forget. And I just started to sob, and I said, oh my God, I see you. I see you in all that you are and all that you bring. And I love you for all that you are. And I will be here for you for anything. And it was just the most amazing bonding moment. And I realized I could see her eyes for the first time. They weren't black and lifeless. They were actually a really pretty brown. And she just, from that, I was like, oh, this dog's not going anywhere.
That, that is one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard. And
Thank you.
I mean, my golly, to give her the space to be able to enjoy smelling flowers every day, that's incredible. Wow. I mean,
Yeah, I've
that's you're a special woman to be able
had.
to provide that space and that safety for that little girl to feel comfortable enough to open her heart, to connect
Thank
with
you.
you.
Yeah, I've had many heart dogs, but I've never had a dog literally hit my soul like this one did. So it was definitely a different experience.
Well, golly, that's yeah, that's the most beautiful thing I've heard all week, and it's Thursday, so that's saying a lot.
Thanks.
Um, so so that's amazing. So beautiful. Thank you, Snow, for feeling comfortable enough to open to connect with Rena,
Mhm.
and Rena, thanks for being smart enough to give her the patience and the time to be able to do it.
Thank you.
So that's an incredible experience, but and is that what kept you in the in with working with dogs? That knowing that you gave her that space,
Yes. And
that love?
seeing the difference that love and patience and time and good food and supplements can do to them. Literally watching their transition from being this just matted, messy, broken little thing to a dog who's happy and bouncing and has good skin and good fur and, you know, the ailments have resolved. It's just, I always say they're diamonds in the rough, and you just need to find the right polishing agent and patience. And you just, the transformation is amazing most of the times.
That is just yeah, and I like the idea of the polishing agent. That is just beautiful. So if somebody was sort of like, oh gosh, I just lost my dog and I'm not really to have another dog full time, how would you suggest that they get started working with rescue groups and maybe doing short fosters
Mm,
situations or get
that's a
yeah,
great question. And interestingly, the topic of grief keeps coming back into my life frequently, helping people and other, it just keeps coming back around. So I know I'm supposed to be doing something in there related to that as well, but I do tell people frequently when they've lost a pet, but I'm not ready for another one, or I don't know, or I always suggest fostering because it, well, for many reasons. I mean, it gets a dog out of a shelter. It helps a dog. It helps you heal. It gives you a place to refocus your grief in taking care of another one. You can't be in heavy grief and take care of someone else at the same time. So it helps you with your grief and your journey. But it also is kind of like taking a trial run. I don't know how else to say it. If you've thought,
fair.
I've always wanted to maybe get a beagle one day, right? Foster a beagle, right? Because what they look like on the internet is not necessarily what they are in person. So foster that kind of dog and take it for a trial run. Is this really the kind of dog you want to get for the next 15 to 20 years, right? So
Right on.
yeah, so I always say that. And I just tell people to, there's a couple of internet sites, Pet Finder and Adopt a Pet. Those are two internet sites, and they're frequently, it's like listings of pets that are up for adoption, and rescues are frequently on there. And so I just tell people to go in and put within a 5-mile radius, see what dogs are available, and then see what rescues are in the area. And if you find a dog with that rescue, apply to foster with that rescue. If not, if you're on Facebook and you see whatever Lionel's Legacy gets spoken about a lot, go check out their website and file a foster application. But a lot of people, and I was the same, I thought fostering, oh my gosh, I have to be in a commitment for maybe a year or 2 years, and yes, sometimes that happens, the dogs stay a while, but not always. Sometimes it's a couple weeks, couple months. Some rescues need vacation fosters. Their regular foster is going away for 5 days to a month and they need somewhere for the dog to be temporarily. And I like that because then there's no possibility of you getting that attached that you want to keep it because it's going back somewhere. So I like vacation fostering for that. And
That's
sometimes they have
amazing.
medical fosters. The dog just had double mammary removal and needs a place to be for 3 weeks or 6 weeks till it recovers, or TPLO surgery, or it's a mom and some puppies. And until the puppies have weaned, they just need somewhere for everybody to be. So there's temporary fostering, vacation fostering, medical fostering. There's just so many ways, and there's so many other ways to help a rescue as well. It doesn't have to just be fostering. There's transporting, and I do this frequently. You pick a dog up from a shelter, or pick the dog up from a shelter and bring it to the rescue, or the dog has to go to an adoption event and the foster is unavailable to bring it. So you're the nanny for the day. You pick the dog up from the foster, take it to the adoption event and bring it back home. Sometimes they have to go to doctor's appointments, vet appointments, and the foster can't take them. So you transport that way. There's so many ways to help. Adoption events, fundraising. There's just so many ways to help rescues that don't require you to actually have the dog in your home.
That's amazing. So if somebody was interested in doing more short-term fostering, like the vacation fostering, medical recovery, that kind of stuff, how would you suggest they set up their home to receive these dogs that may or may not be, fully housebroken, or, they've had a stressful event happen?
Another great question. We always say, even though, because that's one of the first questions people ask is he potty trained, or house trained? And we can never say 100% that that's a yes, because we don't know what this animal is going to do in this new situation. So at the shelter, he may have never gone potty inside his kennel and always waited till he went on a walk. But when he gets to your house, the stress, the change, it may be totally different. If you've had other dogs in your house that have pottied on your floor and maybe not cleaned it as well as you thought you did, and they smell it, there it goes. If it's male that's not neutered yet. So I always say, just expect that they're not completely potty trained. You may want to keep a diaper on them for a few days. You want to take them out frequently, things like that. So just expect that you're going to have some accidents and they may not be completely potty trained. You want to keep a barrier at your door. If you don't have like a screen or a double door, you want to put like an X pen around your door so that dog does not have the opportunity to get to the door to escape. You want to keep their collar and tag on them all the time. You want to do slow introductions with your own pets. You want to you should have already had a meet and greet outside of the home just to see if you're a good match. And then, just don't leave them unattended. Keep them. Sometimes they need to be separated. They just need their space and time. And I would say that's probably the most important, is just patience. If the dog literally goes into one of the dog beds and does not move for 36 hours, just let it be. Don't force the issue. Don't try and get it to come out, pet it. Sometimes they just need to decompress and feel safe. And I've even noticed this in pet sitting because, I'm a stranger coming into their home. So sometimes the dogs just are like totally different with me than they are with their family. And they don't want me near them. They don't want me to pet them. But once I've fed them a couple of meals, we've gone to sleep and, usually together, and I have taken them out for walks and given them treats. It usually takes 24 to 36 hours for them to be like, oh, okay, you're cool. I can trust you. So just hold space, give them space and be patient. And just keep them safe. You don't want them getting lost.
Amazing. Yeah, I like Brian's comment, or you can pet sit and then find your heart connection like his Remo.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Remo was a foster, and
right on.
he found a really good home for 2 years, and unfortunately, they had to give him back to the rescue for personal reasons. And when he came back, I told the rescue if he ever came back that I would foster him again. And I got special permission from my landlord because I already have 2 dogs and I can't have more than 2. So I got special permission to foster him again. And it was very temporary because as soon as Brian heard that he came back to the rescue, he was like, okay, that's it. He was meant to be mine. He's not going anywhere again.
That's amazing. So, and how did you get started with pet sitting? Was that sort of an offshoot of the rescue work, or?
Yeah, kind of. In I don't know, 2015, I think I was my mom had a lot of health challenges and I was working part-time and realized I needed some source of income. And with fostering and my own dogs, at one point I had 9 in my condo.
Oh,
And yeah, that was not okay. They found homes and it ended up just being my crew. But I thought as they passed and the numbers got down to 2 or 3, I thought, well, shoot, I've had 5 and 7. That's no big deal to me. So what can I do to bring some income? I can watch pets in my home. So I started watching 1 or 2 dogs, mostly neighbors and friends in my home. But then I had to move out of the condo and move into an apartment. And so totally different scenario, couldn't do it in my home anymore. So I had to just open it up to doing it full time in people's homes. And that was 2021 when I started doing full time in other people's homes.
amazing. And I know you're still actively pet sitting, and you'll talk about some of the issues, health challenges that the pets that you're caring for are having when we have our coaching calls. So that's been amazing, and you're like constantly kind of just pushing a
Nudge.
little to get that pet parent to do just a little bit better to support the pet, which is absolutely amazing. So you started in the coaching program, I think back in February of 23. Am I remembering that about right?
I want to say it was October of 22.
Right on.
Or
Yeah.
thereabouts.
And then hook or crook, you got through the program. And so how is that sort of helped you be able to be a better foster, make better suggestions for your pet parents?
Well, just the wealth of knowledge from the course itself is phenomenal. And then knowing that if it's something out of my realm of knowledge, which there's still a lot of things that come up that I'm just like, I have no idea what that is. I know I connected with you on a call just last week on somebody that wanted to have me help with their dog who has pheochromocytoma. Did I say it right this time?
You got it.
And
well
I
done.
said, I have absolutely no idea what that is. So I have the wonderful resources of you and the coaching calls and the other coaches to bounce things off of. And the collective knowledge is just phenomenal. It's like, I mean, I would have to get consultations at 5 different vet offices to get the information that I get on these coaching calls and from the other coaches and you. So the course has been amazing. And you start getting, what's the word? Comfortable, I guess, with when somebody says, I have a dog that has arthritis. Instead of having to go back to the coursework or my notebook all the time, I now know the 3 or 4 supplements off the top of my head that I can suggest. So
right on.
That I didn't know before. And really almost everything comes down to a healthier diet and reducing inflammation. Almost everything. I mean, if you can take care of those two things, you've done 50% of the work.
Yeah, and sometimes even more. It's really funny. I was on a call last night with Laura Frontiero's human health coaching group. They wanted somebody to help uh, answer questions about how to support pets more holistically. And if you don't know Laura Frontiero with Radiant Health, she's done some amazing stuff. And in terms of supporting like a group of 500 people at one go, what is insane is that these people are really digging into getting themselves well. And they were just all over being able to understand how to support their pets with, and it's all the same stuff, right? If we fix the gut and control inflammation and help the liver get rid of the garbage faster, everybody gets happier and healthy, whether that's humans, dogs, cats, whatever species you're dealing with, all of us mammals. So yeah, that's right. And that's the crazy thing. A couple of simple things, and we're making a big difference for so many pets. I think one of the things you had quite a bit of success with early on too was just making changes to simple home cooked food that was whole food, and you saw some big changes in the folks you were cooking for.
Yeah, I've gotten quite a few of my friends and clients doing some home cooking. I started out cooking for a few of them because a lot of people think it's this big hard thing and it's going to take all this time, and they'd just rather pay me to do it. And I'm okay. And then, a couple weeks, couple months goes by, and they're like, I think I can do this, and I handhold them and walk them through the process, and they're off and running. And I check in every now and then. How's it going? Do you guys have any questions on the crock pot, recipes? And nope, we're good. Thanks. So, and dogs are still doing good.
That's awesome.
And even my own girls, thank you. Even my own girls, Muffin's 15 and a half. She's sleeping, but she's had some health challenges this week. She's got kidney disease, but I have managed with good food and supplements to keep her in stage 2 for almost 3 years.
Wow.
So she just had some health challenges this last week, and I thought, oh, here we go. We're moving into 3 or maybe even 4. And the vet got her blood work results, and she said some things have changed a little. She says, but overall, she's still fairly steady. So I have to look at the results myself when she emails them to me to look from the last time to this time. But I don't think she's using not IDEX, the
iris staging.
Iris staging, yeah, to see if she's moved into 3, because she did mention she's got a little bit of protein in her urine this time. And of course, I just made another batch of food. So I was like, well, we got to get through this one, and then I'll look at cutting down some of the protein. But yeah, she's done amazing. And the vets just keep saying, keep doing what you're doing. So, and Muffin and Coco were picky eaters always. I always say this. I worked at Dexter's Deli, which is a healthy pet food store. And I think that if you looked in my cupboards, it pretty much looked like the pet food store. There was freeze-dried, raw, dehydrated, gently cooked, kibble, you name it. I had it in the house because they never wanted to eat the same thing more than like 2 or 3 days. They'd just be over it. And I just thought I had the world's pickiest poodles. But I started making the crock pot shortly after I started taking the course. And I would say 98% of the time they are tap dancing in the kitchen and cannot wait to eat this food and lick their bowls so clean I could put them back in the cupboard. So wow. Sometimes like towards the end of a batch, they're like, all right, how many more days of this one we got? But otherwise they have not snubbed their nose at a meal in a very long time. So it definitely has helped my girls.
That's amazing. Amazing. Yeah, the poodle poster children for Crock Pet Diet. I love that. Cool.
That's them. That's them.
Oh yeah, right on. Cool. So what I'm going to do is actually jump over to Circle, where we have a free community for pet parents to get advice. And if you all are not familiar with it, definitely come check it out. We'll drop an invite in here. The thing that's nice is it's not on Facebook, and then there's opportunities in here that otherwise you wouldn't be able to see. So when our coaches are getting ready to graduate, one of the requirements is that they do consultation and record that, where they're actually working with pet parents. And so when they need a one or two folks to work with, we'll post that within this group. And then the other thing is that people have the opportunity to post questions about what's going on with their pups. So, and it looks like the coaches have been all over this, but a couple of these are really interesting questions. So Kelly was posting about her year-old foster that was just diagnosed with oral melanoma. And, and it is an ugly cancer, and the prognosis is not great. And she said, if it wasn't for the bump that appeared suddenly in her mouth, I wouldn't have known anything was wrong. Surgery is not an option. The rescue has decided that we'll do what they can to keep her comfortable. And then she didn't know if there was anything that could be done with food or supplements to slow it down, and is really feeling super overwhelmed by the research. So any ideas in specific how to begin to approach how to support Kelly and her foster pup?
Yeah. Wow. Cancer is just a whole different ball game. Not completely in my
Amen.
wheelhouse, but and again, because it's a rescue dog, she's between a rock and a hard place with what she may want to do and what they want to do. Sometimes they're not always on the same page, and the rescues have limited funds. So, they may want to do everything in their power to save her, but the funding's just not there. So yeah, to support her, I would definitely say fresh food right off the bat, reduce, like carbohydrate intake, and get her on a really good CBD, like Heal from CBD Dog Health. And, just, I would have to look at my protocols for some of the cancer types to see what other supplements to support. But a good fish oil, really good. Fish oil would be good. And you caught me.
And
you got me
awesome.
off guard.
Yeah, no. And I mean, and actually what you just did was offer her something that would help her feel better and would start to slow it down, but not adding a ton of expense. Exactly. So simple, easy things that will help improve how this dog feels. And one thing that might be useful too is some arnica, because sometimes that mouth can be really painful from the cancer growth. So it's possible to use tea relief gellery of the arnica tablets. That can be really helpful too. And that helps control inflammation as well. And then Michelle's asking about a swollen abscess on a dog's face. So it was a bump and then that opened up, and that's kind of yuck. That's really classic for a tooth root abscess. So what often happens is these things will open up and drain, and they'll look okay for a while, and then they'll come back. So short term, Michelle was able to clean that up with peroxide. So short term peroxide, warm compresses, and then really this is something where we need to get this pup into a vet and look at what's going on with that tooth. Let's see what else we've got going on here. Squirrely tummy. So we've got so Pam, who has been a longtime follower in both iPets Ally and the original Crock-Pot diet. Her pup, Spirit, I think this is still Spirit, her pup has had an issue. He's usually had a great digestive tract, and then he needs to go outside earlier than usual, eats grass until she makes him go back inside. And then during the walk, a couple of hours later, he'll have a normal bowel movement followed by a gross, yucky one, which doesn't seem to bother him too much. So he's been doing a lot of stuff in terms of doing Glacier Peak tests for food sensitivities, and then curcumin and quercetin and probiotics as. And so she'll give him some activated charcoal when the yucky stuff happens. He's also on Heal and Calm CBD to help with seizures. So what do you think? What else might you suggest for this pup?
Well, my girls get squirrely tummies every now and then too. And I have to think, okay, what ingredients I have not done a Glacier Peak test on my girls. They can eat pretty much anything, but every now and then they get an upset tummy, and I have to think, what did I put in this batch that is different from the last one? Or, did I give them too much of my, my dinner as treats? And my go-tos, I love the Digize, actually, the essential oil, the Digize. I use that on myself and on them. And especially when I hear the gurgly tummies, the Rory's, I put that on them. I put that on them, and it really does settle it down. But my go-to is slippery elm powder for upset tummies, and it usually resolves it pretty quickly. I usually don't have to use it more than a day or two. I mean, he's on some good stuff, so it just seems like every now and then there's something in his tummy not sitting right, and the body's working on getting it out. So
right on. And that's a great suggestion too. The Digize, that can be really helpful very quickly. And slippery elm kind of seems to smooth things out pretty quick.
And I had an Assisi loop, and it ran its course. I'm working on saving up to get the PEMF mat, but that I used to put that on their bellies when they had upset tummies, and it seemed to help as well.
That's a great idea, because that's the cool thing about pulsed electromagnetic field therapy is it can reduce inflammation and certainly reduce pain too. So that's a great idea. Cool. Let's see. Mandy is asking about turkey tail. Poor buddy. And her muggle died in 2020 at the age of 15 with lots of mast cell tumors, sadly. Right, and so she would use some prednisone and Benadryl, and so she wished she had actually some other options. Cool. So her dog Radar's had a couple of fatty tumors. They've shrunk a bit since they've been on the Crock-Pot diet for 2 months. So what do you think about that? I mean, turkey tail is great, especially for hemangiosarcomas, but what do you think in terms of mushrooms to support healing or staying healthy?
I mean, there's a place and time for each mushroom, but I prefer to get a lot more mushrooms in than just individualized ones, because they all have a different job. They all affect different things. So, rather than taking 4 different mushrooms for a particular thing, there's a lot of good supplements out there that have multi mushrooms in them, and CBD Dog Health has their Myco Dog products. Vitality is a great one. I personally have used 4-Leaf Rover's 7 Shrooms.
Right on.
And gosh, there's another one that just came to mind and I just forgot it. There's another mushroom.
There's 5 Defenders.
Yeah, that's the one.
Defenders
That's the one. 5 Defenders.
Yep. Yeah. And that's it. And they're in all different forms. So kind of whatever will work best for your dog, that's available out there. But you're absolutely right. I think the synergistic effect between mushrooms is really important. So kind of how turkey tail got to be popular for cancer, especially, is there is a product called Immunity, and they did a study and showed that and this is an extracted product from turkey tail mushrooms, but they did a study and found some improvement in terms of hemangiosarcomas, and that's kind of where medicinal mushrooms took off in the pet world. But it's not the only answer, and I think that you're right. You're better off using kind of a combination product to support much better. Cool.
For us,
we've got time for. Yeah, exactly. Right. So there's Evelyn looking for somebody to do consults with, and wow, there we go. Let's see. And then Sonia was asking about her Frenchie's eyes being dilated. So this is a situation, anything to do with this, with the eyes, especially with, something that's a big change. This is where I really think it's important to go to a vet ASAP, because eye infections, corneal scratches, trauma, that kind of stuff, that can really go from okay to not okay in a hurry. And then especially with dilation, that usually means something is going on in the central nervous system that needs some attention. Cool. And then, wow. Yeah, there's just crazy, crazy stuff going on out there. Poor sweeties. So let's see. Cool. So Magda's asking about her pup that's been dragging her right back leg, and then when she turns, she loses her balance. So I think, Magda, and you've probably done this already since this is from the 14th of July. You've been to the vet and gotten some information. That's when we're really better equipped to help you. Once you've been to the vet, you've gotten some basics figured out, and then we can make some suggestions from there. So cool. Awesome. Well, this has been fun, as always. Always great to see you. And actually, I get to see you again in October at the Feed Real event, October, I think that's 4th and 5th. So that'll be, or 5th and 6th. That'll be awesome. And I think we're going to try to do something. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole 2 days of education. And then we're going to try and do something Friday evening before the event for the coaches. Yeah, because it's, I think we've got at least 8 or 10 people coming out for that. So that's going to be awesome. We're going to be doing an event in Chicago on September 8th. And I think, are you able to get out for that event? I know that's a haul for you. Yeah. So we've got some really cool news coming up on that, working with Amy Renz with Goodness Gracious. And I think we're going to have some really fun stuff going on, both for the coaches and the pet parents. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, like Audrey, one of our graduates, raise your paw, and we'll get you some more information as we get that over the next couple of days. Cool. Rena, again, thanks so much for spending time with us today. The story about snow was really awesome. And thanks for sharing your insight on how to be a good foster, understanding kind of the ins and outs of it. And again, for those of you that may be in the San Diego area that need some help supporting your pets, you can find Rena on our website at this page. But what's your, do you have a Facebook page or a
I do have a
website where
Facebook.
they can find you too?
I have a Facebook group
Cool.
page, and it is Heart and Soul Pet Connection on Facebook. And same for the website, heartandsoulpetconnection.com.
Hey, cool. Sorry, my stuff is going crazy. Cool. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day. Again, thank you so much for spending time with us. And
Thank you for having me.
we'll see you soon. My pleasure.
Right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.